This is the Jamaican Connection channel bringing to you some clean and uncut footage. Viewers' discretion is advised.
Gunfire has been reported in the occupied West Bank after the Israeli military stormed the town of Kobatia near Jenin. Israeli forces fired anti-tank rifle grenades into a surrounding house. There's been fighting between them and Palestinian fighters in the area. At least one person's been injured and taken to hospital. Nida Ibrahim's in Kobatia in the occupied West Bank. Tell us what's been happening.
Well, the Israeli forces have raided the town of Kobatia where we are right now. They surrounded the house. The locals have been telling us that they heard an exchange of gunfire. A lot of people here do not know and cannot know what's happening, as this is still an active raid at the moment. We've seen videos of 3 men on a rooftop motionless. It's hard to know if they've been killed, they're dead, or if they're injured and bleeding to death, as we see many in these cases. Now, we've also seen a video of an Israeli soldier shooting towards one of these men from a very close range. Now we're here in this area and we're hearing sounds of explosions. People are telling us that the Israeli army is asking people to evacuate their homes. And we have been seeing reports from a nearby school where students were, in their classes getting ready to get back and to go home, but they're now stuck inside that school because they cannot move, as this is an active raid. As you can see, the Israeli forces have been surrounding this area and intimidating Palestinians as well as journalists who are coming here to tell the story.
Nida, just as you're talking to us there, we've been looking at some of the pictures that you were talking about when some of the journalists have been coming under fire, particularly exactly where you are. Tell us more about what's been happening just in the last few minutes.
Well, we arrived here with journalists. Sometimes Palestinian journalists come here together for safety. And as we were wearing our press gear, our press jackets and vests and helmets, we saw an Israeli vehicle coming from that street, heading very close towards where we are. Attacking journalists, preventing them from telling the story. So now we're seeing more and more journalists. We are hearing more cover this active raid.
Nida, it's Rob Matheson in Doha. It's become very difficult to hear you from over the noise of the generator there. I don't know if you're able to get to your microphone and get it closer to you. I appreciate, obviously, it's a very difficult situation where you are at the moment. I should just explain to viewers who are just joining us, these are pictures from Kobatia in the occupied West Bank, where the Israeli military has been carrying out an operation over the last few hours. We understand that some of the journalists, the pictures there that you can see, came under fire from tear gas explosions. We saw pictures earlier of the reporters and the camera crews having to scatter in the midst of all of that. We understand that the town Kobatia is close to the town of Jenin. The Israeli forces apparently fired anti-tank rifle grenades into a surrounded house. There had been fighting between them and Palestinian fighters in the area. One person is believed to have been injured and we understand has been taken to hospital. Let's just check and see if we can get back to Nida, who, as you can imagine, this is a very pressurized situation, as you have been able to see vehicles traveling up and down the road, including a couple of ambulances there. Nida Ibrahim in Kobatia, are you able to talk to us?
Yes, I am talking to you. I'm not sure if you can hear me there in Doha.
Yes, I can, Nida. Go ahead. You go ahead, Nida.
So we're telling you about this active raid that is currently ongoing. And as we were coming here trying to wear our press jackets, our press helmets, the Israeli vehicle came from that side over there towards this area, and an Israeli soldier shot tear gas towards the journalists who were here. That's why we've seen many of them, including our team, running to the nearby houses for safety. This is not the first and only time we see Israeli forces attacking journalists, preventing them from telling the story. And again, these journalists and these cameras have been able to document many Israeli violations during the past year and even before. And that's why journalists know that they're being targeted, know that they are putting their lives in danger and at risk to continue to tell the Israeli violations, to tell the Palestinian story to the world. The feeling here amongst journalists is, yes, they've been trying to document the Israeli violations, not just here, but also in the besieged Gaza Strip, where Palestinian journalists have been trying really all of their best under bombardment, under fire, under targeting, to keep reporting the Palestinian narrative, also the truth of what's happening. But they know that the Israeli forces do not want Palestinian journalists to be carrying to the world the stories, the violations, what's happening to the people. You know, we were just saying that the Israeli army is now telling Palestinians to evacuate their homes, forcing them to do so. But we've also been talking about children in a nearby school who cannot go home to their families because the Israeli forces have been raiding this area, preventing those children from being close or really going to their homes and being safe. Again, the Israeli forces stormed this area, surrounded a house, and then we've heard from locals about gunfire being exchanged between some Palestinian fighters and the Israeli forces raiding the area. Now, we've seen a video of 3 men on a rooftop laying motionless. We don't know if they've been killed or not. We know that the ambulances have not been able to get there. And then we've seen a video of an Israeli soldier shooting from a very close range towards these men, or at least one of them from the video we've been seeing. Palestinians here are still trying to see what's happening, to be able to realize if the Israeli forces are going to be continuing this raid or they're leaving. We keep hearing from time to time sounds of explosions before we went on air. And again, we're seeing journalists gathering together. They sometimes believe that safety is in numbers, the fact that they are all together trying to document the story.
Nida, stay with me because we're just getting some lines at the moment. We understand from several sources that have been talking to us that at least 3 Palestinians have been killed by the Israeli occupation forces in the raid on Qabatia, where you are. Confrontations are said to be still going on. Children in a nearby school, estimated around 500, are stranded in the school. Israeli forces asking families living in the area to evacuate their homes. Our correspondent Nida Ibrahim there, just bringing us up to date on the situation in the town of Qabatia near Jenin, where that raid has been going on. And she was describing to us also how some members of the press and TV crews had come under attack by tear gas fired from the Israeli forces during that raid. It's obviously still going on. As we get more information, we're going to bring it to you. 6 displaced Palestinians in northern Gaza. The bomb hit a house in Jabalia, injuring many others. Earlier, heavy artillery shelling was reported northwest of the city of Rafah. The Zaytun neighborhood southeast of Gaza City has also been targeted. Hani Mahmoud's joining us from Deir al-Bala. Talk to us about the latest strikes, Hani.
Yes, well, Rob, the past few hours have been quite intense across the central area, further to the northern part, the southern part of the strip, including eastern part of Khan Yunis city, where the Israeli military have been carrying out air attacks coupled with heavy artillery on areas that are densely populated with displaced population, including the western part of Rafah city, in which people are forced into internal displacement now in search for safe areas to accommodate them and their children, more of a safety and a protection that doesn't exist anymore. In western part of Nusayrat refugee camp, an area that has been repeatedly targeted by the Israeli military, whether by land or air, the vast majority of the northern western part of the Nusayrat refugee camp, the new camp that's further northern part of the area, has been completely bulldozed by the Israeli military in the past months, but new waves of heavy artillery have caused further civilian casualties, all transferred to Al-Auda hospital and Nusayrat refugee camp that is already struggling day to day with the large influx of casualties and the shortage of medical supplies. Further northern part of the strip, the Israeli military carried out overnight attacks on residential home, killing a civil defense crew member and his pregnant wife in their residential home. And this is not the first time we're seeing deliberate direct attacks on civil defense crew members or law enforcement or any of the other elements that help the already displaced, traumatized population across the strip to accommodate and to adjust during these difficult times across the Gaza Strip. It's more of like putting more pressure on these elements, personnel, and their infrastructure and facilities, leaving the entire strip without any proper services whatsoever.
Hani, I understand that there are also rescue efforts at the Al Barej refugee camp. Victims still trapped under the rubble there. What's been happening there?
Well, within the past hour or so, volunteers, and we're talking about civilians from the area, managed to remove the bodies of a man, a husband and his wife, as well as one of their neighbors who were under the rubbles, and they were pulled up from the rubble. This is the third day in a row in which more than 60 people are still the rubbles of a group of residential homes, including a 5-story building that were completely flattened when the Israeli military carried out deadly attacks in the past 3 days at early hours of the morning while people were still in the building. These are the efforts of civilians from the area. Paramedics and civil defense crew are given sharp orders by the Israeli military indirectly not to get close to the bomb sites, and they're being chased and shot at by the quadcopters and the surveillance drone, just making the whole rescue mission much more difficult. People who are close in the area, civilians, tried their best to remove bodies from under the rubble. According to eyewitnesses from those civilians, there are still more people who are still alive under the rubble, but time is running out. This is the third day without food supplies, water supplies, medication, and if the time goes by, they're not rescued, they are at risk of losing their lives under huge piles of rubble.
Hani, thank you very much indeed. That's Hani Mahmoud talking to us from Deir al-Bala. Going to get more on the explosions in communications devices across Lebanon on Tuesday and Wednesday. Local media in Hungary is reporting a company based in Bulgaria's capital had bought and sold the pagers to Hezbollah in Lebanon. Taiwanese pager firm Gold Apollo, whose branding was found on the devices, says the model of pagers used in the attack against Hezbollah were made by a Budapest-based firm, BAC. But BAC says it's got no manufacturing or operational sites in Hungary. On Tuesday, thousands of pagers exploded simultaneously across Lebanon, killing 12 people and injuring nearly 3,000. Asad Beg's live for us in Budapest. So what's new?
There's some things that are new, but I'm not sure if it answers any of the questions, just raises more questions. Now, there were reports that the pages were not manufactured here. The government said they weren't manufactured here, that they didn't pass through here, that it was a company in Bulgaria. Now, the Bulgarian authorities have come out and they've said exactly the same thing, that the pages were not manufactured in Bulgaria, that they did not pass through there. Now, this company responsible, we've taken a look at that company. It's owned by a Norwegian citizen, something that's been confirmed by the Bulgarian authorities. Now, what we know is that pretty similar to the consultancy firm here behind me, that's just an address where other companies are registered, the Bulgarian company Nord Limited, the address which that is registered in at the capital Sofia has 196 other companies. Now, the Bulgarian authorities say that the State Agency for National Security has announced that the company did not import those pages, but only a cash flow of 1.6 million euros was registered, and that was forwarded on to Hungary. So that's the new bit of information that we have, that the Bulgarian authorities are saying the pages were not manufactured or didn't pass through there. There's only a cash flow. And again, that comes back to Hungary, where I am now.
Asa, thank you very much indeed, Asa Beg, talking to us from Budapest.